guys, so Kaiju number 8 has been out for a hot minute, well, less than a day, but I'm not gonna lie, I've been thoroughly enjoying it. The grind is there. I've been enjoying eviscerating these Kaijus. The next video will show you how far I've progressed and what I've obtained without spending a dime. I still can't believe it. There's me thinking like, oh, I'm gonna have to, because I'm not gonna lie, your boy wanted to do that paid multi, but yeah, let's just say the game is showing your boy some stupid love. I'll just leave it as that. You guys will see on what is being cooked up. But anyway, coming back to the game itself, or the tier list itself, I do want to kind of do a tier list and see what we're looking at, what we want to focus on, characters that are kind of really pushing the game boundary to help us progress and get on with fights, etc. You know, the more difficult content. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet, kind of get over with the characters which predominantly you want to look at in terms of power. And as it stands right now with the characters that we have lined up, in terms of raw power when it comes to doing damage, number 8 does the most. Just to put it into perspective, when it comes to me using my number 8, if I don't land a crit, I'm still dropping 2 to 3k. That's at level 40, by the way, so just keep in mind the level, you know, hence the damage output will clearly get more higher and higher, but just kind of basing on everyone across the board being level 40 and their skill levels being max 2. Yeah, without a crit, that's what he's doing. Mind you, with everyone else with a crit, does about 1500, I would say, so it doesn't even reach 2k. So in terms of the raw power or the nuking power, yeah, it's gonna go to Kaiju number 8. Number 6, aka Reno, he is also being put in the SS. I've had the luxury to obtain this man with a dupe and his weapon, and mother of God is this man a phenomenal type of character in terms of not just a DPS, but all the more that he applies in terms of freezing the enemy. He also has AoE clearance on his ultimate, so again, and on top of that, if you can build him up in a critical manner, because from when I am with my account, I've actually just unlocked gears, so I'm gonna get the whole crit gear onto him, and essentially he's an absolute crit machine. His damage output is there. Just build him up and he is one hell of a DPS character. Ultimate has AoE. Of course, you've got the follow-up additional ice damage, which will come in clutch, and obviously he himself does a follow-up attack. And with the AoE ultimate, of course, you've got not only a chance to do a great amount of damage to the single target that you're focusing on, but of course it does disperse and does area damage. And you've got a chance to freeze the enemy. And the reason why I love this unit is predominantly because of the freeze. It is so clutch. I think it was the Kaiju number 1 that I was facing with my team, and Kaiju number 1 is a tough freaking Kaiju to fight. But I was freezing that mother trucker, and it was just RNG was in my favor, I'm not gonna lie. Now, another character which I was considering putting up to S rank up until I had the luxury to use this man is Narumi. I am putting this man up there on SS. In terms of damage, Narumi is definitely up there. I was actually taken away from his ultimate, because even if his ultimate gauge is below 50%, he actually gives himself a 10.2 speed increase. He's got fantastic AoE coverage. His ultimate, well, I don't know if it's a guarantee, but I don't know what's going on, because every time I ult with this man, he always drops 2.5k at level 40, of course, bear that in mind. But his ultimate is always critting. Obviously, he's got the follow-up attacks, but yeah, this Narumi is probably one of the most easiest DPS characters to use, of course. And on top of that, I'm pretty sure also, when the core is exposed from the Kaiju, he actually gives himself a 20% damage dealt increase. So if you've got that core exposed and you have his ultimate at the ready, this man's ultimate is, and you crit, his ultimate is going to do so much more damage. So this is probably one of the most easiest DPS characters to use. Very simple, and he hits freaking hard. So I'll definitely be putting him up there with the boys, because he's another phenomenal DPS character that does raw damage, of course. Again, more so on the crit side between these boys. Number 8 is the only one that has the most powerful non-crit damage that you can dish out, of course. Now, I'm also going to put some respect on Iso's name, because of course this is one of the characters which I did mention to be like, hey, you know, with your free 5-star that we all get, you know, depending on what you guys pull through the summons, maybe consider picking up this man if you guys don't. If you guys don't know, Iso is a defender. Yes, he's a defender, and pretty much he provides from his skill shield play Again, if you've seen my previous video where I did the rerolls, you guys would have seen him in action. So yeah, he provides the team with the shield play on his first passive that you unlock at level 40. That will then give your whole team a effect resistance of plus 15%, which is very nice, of course. And on top of that, each time an ally has a shield, I believe I get a 2.8 defense increase for 3 turns, and we can stack that up 5 times. I mean, this might be up there in terms of a defender role, but I'm gonna put him at high S. I mean, we can clearly fight our cases, but in terms of damage output, it's nothing too crazy. But the defending support role that he plays, it is not to be slept on. If you're looking for a good solid team comp, trust me, if it wasn't for this man right here, my ass will be getting stomped in terms of going against some of these kaijus at a level that I should not even be going anywhere near them. So that barrier play is solid. The defense increase is fantastic. The damage increase is there. The effect resistance is there. I cannot say anything more other than if you're looking for a defender, this is the man. I mean, well, we did the father, we got to do the daughter. Now, Kikuru is also a pretty solid attacker. I will put her in an S rank. Again, a fairly simple one. I mean, the real way of kind of utilizing this character is there's a condition that she can build up that is affected from her ultimate, of course, and then once you have, I think you only need 3 of the conditions built up, that then gives her like a damage dealt increase, a critical damage increase, of course. It's just allowing her to do more damage, of course. She can also reduce the enemy's defense. I think at level 1 you're looking around about 8%, if I can remember correctly. So again, that's not too bad. I don't know if defense pen is a thing or not, but reducing the defense can always help to do more damage, so can't go wrong with that. If the enemy has, like, I think it's less than either 70 or 50% of their HP, then that allows Kikuru to get an extra 20% in her damage increase. So weak enemies are just going to get absolutely obliterated, which is a handy thing, especially when there's grunts and minions about, of course, so can't go wrong with that. But she's definitely a solid unit to have in terms of DPS power. Not to be slept on, but yeah, she has her ways. You just have to build up the conditions and then you'll get the most out of her. That's her whole gimmick. Now, Ashura is also a nice little DPS character that you guys can use from, of course. Her ultimate, weirdly enough, gives a damage reduction upon usage, so that's kind of, I don't know, I felt a little bit awkward with that. I would much rather just kind of make her so that they should just give her some form of like damage increase or something like that. I mean, but hey, damage reduction, yeah, you can't go wrong with that, can you? But anyway, going off from what this character is capable of, again, just looking at a combat skill, you can give yourself a 9.6% increase for 2 turns. That's for level 1, and I guess, I don't know how I feel about this, but she also provides herself a multiplier increase of 16% for her normal attacks. Okay, now if I can remember correctly, because thinking about that, I'm like, okay, her normal attacks has to be AoE, but her normal attacks are single target, so I'm just like, at that key moment, I would have preferred it to be AoE then. But again, still not too bad, still not too bad. Again, very similar fashion of Kikuru, where she can kind of build up on special conditions. In this case, she's going to be building up on focus, and by having a maximum of 3 gives you, well, you can grant yourself a critical rate increase of 100% for 1 turn. Sorry about that, phone is just absolutely popping off with notifications, but anyway, so you can essentially guarantee yourself a crit, so that's pretty nice, of course. And then once again, once you consume once you use all your grants, then you're pretty much done and dusted. I guess this is a nice little bonus if there are minions around, and by getting that extra 16%, because on one of her additional passives, by defeating a minion, actually gives her an additional ultimate gauge move increase of 50. So I'm starting to kind of put it all together to be like, okay, we can kind of work how she's working towards her ultimate in a more quicker pace. And then on top of that, she's got, I think, 80% of her HP or more, then she just straight off the bat gets a 15% attack up, of course. So at the very beginning, she's going to be doing damage. Just make sure she doesn't get hit. I mean, if you've got yourself a bit of a defender, you'll be alright. But yeah, I sure definitely will get the S rank. She's, again, a very, very good, solid unit to use in terms of on how she's working. Alrighty, we'll look into Soshiro now. Soshiro is... Ooh, where do I want to put this man? He's heavy on the thing. Okay, you know what? No. I mean, technically speaking, he could also be SS with how good he is. Right, we'll leave him here for now. Yeah. So the key thing about this Soshiro, again, DPS damage being dealt. He has a mode that is called Fear State, which you apply through his combat skill. You apply that, you give yourself a 20% increase on your next action order, quickness. He also has a additional passive, where if he activates his ultimate, he gets a 15% speed increase for 1 turn, quickness. So the thing that this unit is known for is being quick. Yeah, he's going to be quick, and that's exactly what we want to see. And then from all of that, once he's in the Fear State, through his ultimate, you can give yourself a crit rate increase and crit damage increase. I believe the crit rate and the crit damage at level 1 starts at 13 to 16%. So you've pretty much got a good chunk to kind of start off with, and then of course as you're working on that, he's definitely going to be a menace to society in terms of the raw kaiju DPS power that he can apply. Now, the other little additional bonus that he has, if there are like other minions of kaijus around, he can also provide an extra 15% additional damage onto them, so they won't be a problem. So I think for right now, Social will stay as is, but I can probably fight my case and build him up to be like, yeah, he's SS worthy, because he's definitely, by the sounds of it, once he's in that fear state, and again, if you do build up the ultimate and whatnot, if you do get those passive unlocked, he's definitely going to be doing some disgusting amount of raw damage. Alright, we got my girl Rin, and no, she kind of reminds me of a bit of a breaker. I'll put it in A. Reason being is because, of course, she's got AoE damage across the board, which is completely fair, of course. Again, she's got things to kind of work her way in terms of if you defeat a kaiju, be a minion or whatever. Ultimate gauge increase at the start of the battle. You get an ultimate gauge increase only by 60, so it's nothing too well. No, at the start of the battle it's pretty great, but if you defeat an enemy, it's only a plus 20. If you've got more than, I think, 70% HP, then you can get an extra 20% additional damage. Each time you attack a kaiju, you can give yourself a plus 2.4% damage dealt increase, and you can stack it up to 5 times. Keep in mind that's level 1. But the key thing about this unit is the fact that she can destroy resistance. So pretty much after every time she destroys a resistance, she then advances her next action by 10%. That is pretty much what we're working with when it comes to this character. Very simplistic, nothing too much going on. She's got an AoE clearance. She can build up some damage over time, which is pretty nice. Get her ultimate, and by getting to her ultimate, that's when the whole breakage side of her really does shine. So essentially, when it comes to breaking, this unit is pretty solid there in terms of all clearance. And then, of course, keep in mind she does give. I was really hoping for the next action order increase would have actually followed it through the next character beside it or something like that. I think that would have been probably an extra better bonus, I would have said, but it only affects her. So yeah, we'll leave her at A. Alrighty, so I've got experience with Ryu, so I will put this. I mean, yeah, we'll put him in A. Yeah. So obviously this was one of the support characters that I immediately went head over heels for. Honestly, purely because of the damage dealt increase that he can provide, as well as the speed increase. That was kind of like the big sell factor to me personally, of course. So pretty much, it's from his ultimate. You know, you give your allies at level 1 an 8.4 speed increase for 2 turns. That's also a bit of a bonus, rather than not just being 1 turn, it's on 2 turns. And you also give him a damage dealt increase of 16.8 at level 1. So again, the bonus is pretty solid if you ask me. On top of that, just from his initial passive that he gives all allies an attack increase of 12.8%. So can't go wrong, pretty solid. And obviously you got to keep in mind when it comes to his combat skill, it does also provide him with a ultimate charge rate of 10% for 2 turns. So it helps out on getting his ultimate a lot sooner, which is exactly what you want. Passives, once you start building them up, you know, he gets a 60 plus on his ultimate gauge, which is exactly what you want. And then I think for the remaining ones, it's nothing too key. Oh no, the third one gives an additional 10% increase to all allies in terms of an attack up. So I think all in all, at the very beginning on a level 1 across the board, if you don't level up his passive skill, the first one, that's what, 22.8%? So fairly solid. Probably, yeah, a support unit that you want to consider building up. I've used him. Hell of a character with that speed increase. I absolutely love it, especially when you're speeding up some deadly attackers. Alright, I guess we'll look into the big boy Hasegawa, of course, and we'll put him in B. We'll put him in B. For the most part, he's more of a follow-up buffer attacker. The key thing about this unit, I will say, is that on his command skill, he has an 80% chance to stun. It's only for one turn, but ladies and gentlemen, he is your stunner of choice if you choose to. 80%, pretty high up there. But the whole premise of this character, outside of stunning, is that if you got an ally that uses their combat skill or follow-up skill, it provides him a special condition. If you stack up 5 of these special conditions, then he gives himself a critical rate increase at level 1 being 16.5 for 2 turns, and then a critical damage increase of 33% for 2 turns, and that's pretty much it. Everything else from this man is just doing casual hits, of course. So that's, yeah, the whole stunning and the building up his conditions just to allow him to do a little bit more damage is kind of what we're looking at. It's nothing too crazy. I feel like for the most part, a lot of us are just going to be, if need, utilizing him for that stun. A stun is single target, just FYI. It's at 8%, so it's not too bad. I guess I might as well get the starting characters out of the way, so we'll do Kikuru, of course. So she is going to be a B rank, yeah. So this is a fairly decent unit that we get to begin with, to be fair. I mean, she's a DPS unit, of course. When the core is exposed, you know, you get yourself an extra near enough 40% increase, so that's not too bad in additional damage through the ultimate. So there's a little bit of a bonus on there. She's got something unique to where if an ally exposes the core, then she gets a speed increase of 13.7%. So that was kind of a bit weird one. So make sure you've got your best DPS if you are utilizing her as a bit of a sub DPS role, of course. The other defensive role that she has is that obviously if she has less than 50% of her HP, then there is I believe there's a decent chance. I don't think it gives us a percentage on what the chance is, but there's a chance that the enemy will just ignore us, won't target us. So there's that. And at the start of the battle, she can give herself a 25% increase in her action order. So a bit of quickness on that part. And then again, in the bonus of there being minion kaijus, by defeating them, you can give yourself an extra 20% increase in attack, and that's on for 2 turns. So not too bad. So yeah, when it comes to a free character, yeah, I would say that she's fairly solid to use from at the very beginning. But then, you know, once you get the big boys, it's a GG. So this is the day 1 account, whatever, Kafka that we get. I'm actually gonna put him up to A rank. If you guys don't know, this is a transformation Kaiju number 8, and as you progress through the game, you actually get given his dupes for free. So technically speaking, the game actually gives you this Kafka at max, which is very nice. And the key thing about this Kafka is obviously you're working towards that transformation, but while you're doing that, you also got to keep in mind that with his combat skill, he can actually reduce the enemy's defense by 16% and give himself a speed increase of 16%. So that's actually pretty handy to have, kind of set him up and then have your other characters kind of lead in to do damage. So that's pretty solid. But again, the whole premise of this character is once you've got that human form out the way and you're in that transformation kaiju state, that is when things pick up, because of course he gives himself he recovers his HP completely, of course. He gets a HP increase of 44%. He gets a speed increase of 10%, of course. His next action order is guaranteed. Don't need to consider, well, I don't think his weapon, well, oh yeah, his weapon pretty much gets thrown out, so yeah, I mean, if you want to build it up, then you guys can, but you know, there's that. And then of course when it comes to the passive, of course, he gives himself a effect hit rate of 20% for 3 turns, and then when he's in that kaiju form, he gives himself a 55% increase in attack as well as a defense increase of 22%. After you transform, you actually get an additional 60 in your speed gauge. Sorry, not your speed gauge, your ultimate gauge. That way you can get that ultimate going on from your kaiju state, of course. So you can get some big hits going in there, of course. By activating a follow-up skill, that you get a 50% increase in your effective resistance, I believe. Yeah, effective resistance. There you go. And then on top of that, when attacking a kaiju that has, I believe it's 50% or more rather than less, so I think it's more, then you actually give yourself a crit increase of 16%. So at the beginning, you're going to be building up this kaiju, and then near the end, he's going to be eviscerating the enemy. So when it comes to a Kafka, a free one, where we get duped out, maxed out, yeah, he do be cooking. Okay, who do we look at? For a second there, I thought that was Ryu again, but no, it's was it Kota? I was about to say Tota. Kota, yes. Now Kota is a defender, but not to the extent that I was hoping for. I'm gonna put him in C. His combat skill does reduce the enemy's attack, which is a bit of a bonus in terms of being, I guess, a debuffer, of course. If the enemy is debuffing and they do target him, only he gets a shield. Yeah, I'm not happy about that. And then once you get that shield, you actually then give yourself a effect resistance of 25%. So he's a defender, but he's defending himself. So that's kind of awkward. He also, on his ultimate, has a chance to freeze the enemy, so kind of how Ishikawa kind of works. So he can freeze the enemy, it has an 80% chance. It's only on for one turn, but it kind of delays their action order by 30%, so that's not too bad at a level 1 rate, so there's that. You also, because it's an ice damage attack, it does, the Kaiju does take ice additional damage, so there's that. But as a defender as a whole, not the best. Not the best. Nothing that I would really concern myself over. He's just not the defender that you would want. Outside of reducing the enemy's attack, that's about it. That's about... Okay, another interesting character is this Take unit. Now, she's pretty unique, and I do feel like there's something to be provided at a later time. So I'm going to leave it a B, but I feel like once we get more into what she's capable of and kind of build off from that, we can start to see a shift. But essentially, she is a DOT user. From her combat skill, she can apply Burn. Level 1, that will do equal to 39% of your attack, of course. So there's that DOT play on hand. And then, of course, if you do apply it through the ultimate, of course, if the enemy is burnt, then you can give yourself a damage dealt increase of 5.5. And then a multiplier increase of 16.5, of course. Her passive provides her with a 27.5 increase in attack if the enemy is burnt. So as long as you burn the enemy, you can benefit from your initial passive and your ultimate, allowing it to do more damage. With the additional passives, once again, you will then provide yourself with an extra 40% in the multiplier, in the DOT damage, that is, just an FYI. And then, of course, you do give yourself an effect hit rate increase, and I believe there's also a bonus of when you destroy a resistance from a kaiju, it equates to you actually getting a plus 10% or a 10. Sorry, not 10%, a plus 10 in your ultimate gauge, so you can kind of chase that ultimate a little bit more whilst benefiting from the breaking the enemy's resistance. So DOT unit right here, if you guys are considering ever want to use that, or maybe down the line they provide more support for that, so something to take note. Then we got Haru, of course. So this is another elemental user. Very interesting character, and I feel like we can build off from, because he's, well, the elemental in question is lightning, and I feel like with another lightning user, he can actually be a pretty nice support to have. But essentially, again, you're doing that lightning damage, of course, as per usual. You've got a 65% chance to kind of shock the enemy, which is pretty nice. And again, that's in correlation with the DOT play right here. So you're going to be doing, I believe if it's 55% at level 1, that is, of course. If you get the ultimate involved, once again, you've got a good chance, around about 80%, to actually drop the enemy's defense by 21%. So that's actually pretty solid, I will say. Nice little defense drop on that part. And then I think there's something to where, if I can remember correctly, he has a additional passive where if an ally attacks a kaiju that has a debuff, then the ally's lightning damage gets the lightning damage dealt gets a plus 20%. So essentially, you want to make sure that you've got another user that also deals lightning damage, that we can benefit from that. So some mono element going on there right now, but yeah, we'll keep him from B for right now. I don't know if is Kikuru lightning. Oh wait, I always forget. But you're a defender, so I might have to rely on Kikuru. And when it comes to the DOT play here, it's to do with wind. So again, the combat skill, as you're doing your damage, you've got a chance to apply a DOT called Wind Bite, and again, that's equaling to 32% of his attack. So that's not too bad. It's on for 2 turns as per usual. Ultimate gives himself a speed increase of 25%. Fairly simple, just a casual DPS unit. If he does destroy resistance on kaijus, then he gives himself an attack increase of 3.2 and a defense of 1.6. And you can stack that up to 5 times. Again, it's level 1, so it will go up in percentage. And then on top of that, whenever his turns arrive, he also gives himself a recovery of HP of 2.7%, so it's not too bad on that part. He's got like a full coverage going on, so it's not too bad. Passives, he gives himself a damage reduction increase. He's able to do 15% more damage with his normal attack, as well as his combat skill, and then on his final additional passive, he gives himself a advanced action order of 20%. So honestly, just a decent DOT character. Again, if we can work on something with that with the DOT player, then I feel like these characters can come out and be an absolute haymakers of characters. Who knows, potentially. But for right now, yeah, they're not too bad. They're not bad. So Izuma is in the building with his beautiful hair, might I add. Now with this character, it's a bit of an awkward one because I could see the potential in this unit in terms of dropping the enemy's attack from his combat skill. So basically, very similar fashion to Dota, of course. Oh, Kota. Oh my god, what do I? God damn it. So not too bad on that part. Now his ultimate, which is what I was loving, is the fact that he can randomly remove a buff from an enemy, and I'm just like, ooh, I can see the potential in that because I think it was Kaiju number 2. No, it was Kaiju number 1. I think there was like he did like a 3-turn buff shield, no, buff attack, and then it equated into him doing a shield. Then he ate some of his shield to do a freaking AoE attack. It was insane. So I'm just like, damn, you actually could have come in handy. And then as you get furthermore into it, he can also reduce the enemy's speed by 6%. He has a 75% chance. And I'm just like, damn, okay, I'm seeing some potential in this man. And then he has a passive where if he activates his follow-up attack, he removes a debuff from a single ally. What is that about? Bro, you're killing us here. No, he had so much potential. But overall, yeah, I wouldn't say it's too horrible. Nah, I don't like. Yeah, it's very weird on why they would have added that in. But anyway, I don't know, because I kind of want to put him up in B rank because he's got. Oh, scroll him and see. God damn it! Why that? Can we just keep that additional passive locked? Because once he hits level 40, he unlocks that stupid passive, and I hate it. God damn it! Soshiro is next. Boom. A. This man is obviously he's a free character because you get it from pre-registrations, but in a buddy system support, he's amazing. And what I mean by that is because of course with whoever he's linked with next to in a buddy system, by using the combat skill you can randomly remove a debuff on your buddy. On his ultimate you can provide your buddy with a 14.7 speed increase, which is very nice. Depending on the SP, if you have 2 or less, then you can give an additional speed increase of 16% to your buddy. If it's 1 or less, being the SP, crit damage increase of 32% to your buddy. So if you've got a DPS character, which is primarily who you want to link him up with, that DPS character is going to be quick and do more damage, and that's what you got to love, of course. On top of that, your buddy also gets a normal attack increase of 20%. He is literally just being like, here, do all the work. I'll give you all the buffs. It's insane. And then of course when you activate the combat skill, he himself officially gets a speed increase of 15%, so it's not only just a buddy, but he himself, which is fantastic. And then when it goes back to it being his next turn, he gives himself an ultimate gauge increase of 12, of plus 12. So overall, yeah, this is honestly a free pre-registration character that was given away, and very solid if you ask me. Can't deny that. Might as well go into Ashura, of course, because I believe this is also another nice little support character. So with this Ashura that we got given, again, a fairly nice little support. She applies I guess a state called morale to an ally, only a single ally, but you know, still it's there, and you're providing them with a 19.2 damage that will increase with a combat skill increase of 19.2. So not horrible, fairly solid, we'll take it. And the buff is on for 3 turns, might I add. The buff is on for 3 freaking turns, so that's solid. And again, you can level up the percentage play because it starts at 19.2%, which is insane. And then of course she'll do her damage and all that good stuff. She does have a lot of a bit of a bonus on the ultimates, to where if an ally does have the morale buff and they are attacking, then you can get some more damage out of that, of course. So that's pretty nice. And then of course after activating your normal attack or your ultimate, then you can get an extra 38.4% on the attack, and this will be going towards the allies that have been applied with the morale. Keep in mind, the morale buff is on for 3 turns, so you can actually apply it to all your team. You just have to kind of reset it on the first character that you apply it to. So if you want to link that up with your normal attack or your ultimate play through your passive, then you can provide them with an increase of 38.4% in attack increase, which is fairly solid. She gives herself effect resistance, only herself, unfortunate, but yeah, I think for the most part that's pretty much it. Because when it comes to additional passives, it's more so for her, just giving a ultimate gauge increase if the core is exposed, as well as a plus speed increase when using the combat skill. So yeah, very, very solid to have, I will say. So we've got this low rarity Reno, and I'm not too keen on this unit, to be fair. Pretty much just attack. He does have the ability to do adjacent damage to Kaiju's beside and apply a debuff called Gunshot Wound, you know. And then of course from that you can also reduce the enemy's effective resistance by 11%. That's not too bad. But again, coming back to the whole gunshot wound, it's basically additional damage of 22% of this unit's attack. So once it's applied, then you kind of build off that and do more damage out of that. But for the most part, that's essentially the premise of this character. Again, not really too keen on it, so I'm just gonna leave him where he is. We've got Akari here, and she is the healer. You guys know the deal when it comes to games. They've always got that one healer, and they always get some love and respect because, well, that's all we got to work with, of course. So just to give you guys the premise of how this character works is that on her combat skill, you know, she can target an ally to provide them with some healing, so which is very nice. After the healing process is done, ultimate gauge increase of 11%, or charge rate, should I say. So not only are we getting some healing, we're also working towards that ultimate, which is fantastic. Her ultimate provides across the board healing with a max HP increase of 77. That's level 1. Can't go wrong with that. Again, fairly simple. When recovering an ally that has 25% or less remaining HP, then the multiplier of that healing goes up by 11%. We'll take that. Happy days. After receiving an attack, she's got a fixed chance to apply a status element. So, or remove, sorry, remove a status element, my bad. So that's also pretty nice to have. When having 50% HP or less, it's kind of like Ikuto, where she has a slight chance to not get targeted, which is exactly what you want. And then the final passive is basically upping the multiplier on the healing by an extra 10%. So again, only healer we got in the game. If I did manage to get her, because I actually don't have her, unfortunately, I would actually build her up so that way I've got her on the sidelines if need be, so I can make good use of it. And then we've got Genji, who again I'm not really too bothered with. Ultimate just provides a chance to stun, and then again more DOT player on hand is just poison. And yeah, I'm not too keen on this character, so we're just kind of. I mean, he's not too bad. I mean, you can. I'll put him at low C. There you go. We'll do that. We'll do that. Yeah, we'll leave that as is. We'll drop you down here. Drop you there. Yep. Boom, boom. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. There we go. Cool. We got there. But that is how I am looking at things in terms of the characters in my form of things, of course. And yeah, we'll see where things go from here on out. Again, you guys are entitled to your own opinions on how you guys want to do things, but this is just from how I'm looking at it in terms of the characters, what they do, and building, as well as tackling the content that we have so far. So this is my day 1 of the game tier list, done and dusted.